as Egypt's president proposes an initial two-day ceasefire in Gaza to exchange 4 Israeli hostages with some Palestinian prisoners. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was speaking in Cairo as Israel's spy chief, the director of the CIA, and Qatar's Prime Minister meet in Doha to prepare for new talks for a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Well, let's speak now to Gidi Grinstein. He worked as Israel's peace negotiations with the Palestinian Liberation Organization. That was under Prime Minister Ehud Barak from 1999 to 2001 and was crucially at that Camp David summit with the PLO leader Yasser Arafat and the then US President Bill Clinton in 2000. Thank you so much for your time. I wondered if I could ask you first what you make of these latest proposals for possible ceasefire and hostage release talks.
I believe the war in Gaza is reaching a kind of a decision-making point for Israel because Hamas military capabilities have been largely eliminated. We're seeing that a lot of the forces in Gaza, the soldiers are basically not being significantly engaged in military activities. And there is the challenge of bringing back the hostages, as well as connecting what we call the day after with the political horizon. There's also the economic dimension of the reconstruction of Gaza with the political future, not only of Israel's relations with Gaza, but of Israel's relations with the Palestinians. And all of these things need to be brought together. But at the moment in Doha, I believe that the goal of the talks is to actually find out if on Hamas there is someone, an address that we could negotiate with. I will say that until now, Israel's proposition to Yahya Sinwar was quite difficult, which is, let's do a hostage deal, give us the hostages, but then we will nonetheless try to kill you. So the incentive there of doing the deal wasn't that powerful, as well as, of course, many other impediments. Now that Yahya Sinwar is dead, hopefully there is a new avenue for engaging with the Hamas leadership to get a small deal to establish the avenue of communication in order to be able to move further with a broader hostage deal, and then perhaps also a ceasefire and ending the war.
So you think it is going to be something small that the two sides can agree on, hoping that it will lead to something more substantial?
The Egyptian proposal is definitely small. What we heard in Israel tonight is that they are talking about a few days of a ceasefire, release of 4 hostages in exchange for some Palestinian prisoners. This is really a very, very small deal. But the goal is, I think, to reestablish the channel of communications that have been broken down over the last few weeks and months.
Yeah. So what do you think is Israel's long-term exit plan then?
Well, that's really a subject of a very significant debate. There's obviously the far right in Israel that wants to resettle in Gaza. There was a recent conference on the Gaza border with the participation of members of Knesset from Likud, which is the ruling party, about the resettling of Gaza. But the government, Netanyahu and the people around him, Minister Dermer, they're in a different place. They're actually speaking about creating some sort of bubbles primarily in northern Gaza, where humanitarian aid could be provided through collaboration with local clans and families that will deliver the aid and basically stabilize northern Gaza. And that will be a sort of a pilot for a regime that will gradually be extended into the Gaza Strip. Personally, I don't believe that this model can work. And I do believe that the only way forward is at some point for Israel to acknowledge that the PLO or the PA are the representative of the Palestinian people, and to engage with them in order to invite an international force with significant participation, American support, participation of the UAE, in order to deploy in Gaza, reestablish law and order, and begin the tremendous task of the reconstruction of Gaza.
Gidi Grinstein, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.